Alright guys, so spring is freshly upon us, and before we jump right in, we got to talk a little strategy. I came into this lake on the north end, and by doing a little research I found out that there's a little north bay here. And you know, bodies of water, little bays like this that are shallow, that have a south aspect, are the ones that are going to warm up the fastest. Right after ice out, all these fish are going to seek the warmest possible water. And there's a little bit more food source. We're going to have fresh bug hatches every day, all kinds of different insects. So it goes without saying, the fish are going to really pile up into these northern bays. Like I said, I came from the north end of this little bay, and instead of just plowing right down into it, I decided to skirt the bay here because there's a little narrows right here you can see. And what'll often happen with shallow water like this, the fish are spooky. So if I come charging down, I can easily push all those fish and blow them right out of the narrows. So I'm gonna systematically fish from the narrows in and try to keep those fish corralled in the bay. So we're gonna poke around and see if they're there. I've got a pretty good hunch because, like I said, this lake is abundant with panfish and bass, and to me there's only one place they could go, so we'll go check it out. The approach today is simple. I'm just going with a little float and a plastic. Optimally, you want tungsten when you're ice fishing because it gets down fast and stays down, but there's still small jig heads that hold the plastic really well. And this is a little Lunker Hunt tungsten, and I have a little Lunker Hunt plastic on here. Become a big fan of these plastics because they're super durable. Bluegills have a tendency of chewing up plastics, and when you're on them and they're spooky and they're flying around, you don't want to waste time rebaiting or putting on a new plastic. So seeing as how the water is so shallow, I can get a pretty good indication if there's fish there right off the bat. And so I'm gonna work my way in here. Like I said, this is a kind of a funnel point, and if the fish have no exit, then they're gonna be more likely to stay in this area where I have better access to them. When you come in doing a bushwhacking bank mission, I like to come a little bit prepared, but you know, running light. So in my backpack, I don't usually bring a whole lot of tackle. Number one, panfish stuff isn't very big to begin with. Small bobbers, small hooks, small plastics, so they don't take up a ton of room. But I got a water bottle and some rain gear in my backpack, whatever. And then instead of having to turn around all the time and grab stuff, I like using a little fanny pack here. And there I just have some tools, and like I said, my tackle and my shades. Which now that I have my shades on, I can see there's a couple lily pads starting to pop. And when you're looking for fish that are relating to, you know, warmer, like they're looking for things that hold warmth. So like if there was a laydown or a log in here, I would imagine that would concentrate more fish because it tends to gather more heat. And right now, this time of year, with the water being cold in the main lake, like I said, that's what they're looking for. So there isn't really any laydown or anything out in this main part, but there are some pad stems coming up. That's a black bottom. That's going to absorb more heat. It gives me something to target. Try to keep your line on the surface of the water. It'll give you a better connection to your bobber when you go to set the hook. Oop. Just like that. And that appears to be a bluegill. Digging sideways, not a big bluegill, but what would be cool is if there's a concentration of them over there. Because I have seen it where, you know, they'll pick one little thing. There's a reed clump or a grass clump or a little branch over there, and they'll just hang on it. Little gill. Bluegill. Spinning and churning and picking up ground. There we go. That is pretty right there. Cool. Look at that. I mean, I love it when they're built like that. Double chin gills. Ready to go. Okay. Good. So that tells me that they're in here. That's cool. It did not take long. And I'm just kind of peppering this little lily pad patch. I don't know if you can see that with the camera, but there's really no other lily pads up but this little small island. So when I set the hook on that fish, there was an indication that there was more around. They kind of spooked, so they should want to come back to that. There we go. It's a bass though. He popped up. I can see little wakes in there, so there is life in here. That's exactly what you're going to find early in the year like this, when all the warmest water is concentrated in one part of the lake. So, like I was saying, this is a lunker hunt combination. It's a lunker hunt plastic. I can fish out the packaging. I can't recall what it's called right now, but it's just baits that you'd use when you're ice fishing. The nice thing about them is that they're small. Like I said before, super durable. So I'm not messing with night crawlers, I'm not messing with minnows or live bait. And obviously they're chewing on it pretty good, so. That hit the water. It's gotta be a bass, huh? I mean, I don't know if you could see that, but yeah, a little bucket. That is sheer aggression when the bobber hits the water and immediately goes under. And there's a fish feeding on the surface right there, chasing a little bug. So I'm gonna see if I can intercept that fish right now. See how quick he finds me. Oh, just like that. See that? It's an indication right there. When they're feeding on the surface, they're active. They're most active fish in the lake. That one's got different colors on it, but I mean, he was sitting there, just rolled on a bug. I cast it right at him, and half a second and look at, oh, there's fish. There's fish rising in that back bay, but I'm just gonna keep hammering this lily pad patch. I'll say it 17 times for every fish I catch, but it's a good place to look. It's important to impart a little action to the bait. Like I said, this is obviously an artificial bait, so it doesn't move on its own. You can easily give the bait some action by just popping the bobber. But you want to do it kind of subtly. The bobber does act as an attractant, but you don't want to spook fish either. You want to be real subtle with your movements. I'm bombing this bobber out there, and before you do that, you want to make sure your bobber is good and cinched down. You can accomplish that by just doing one extra wrap on it. Otherwise, that inertia kind of tends to pull the bobber down to the bait, which defeats the purpose. So. Get buckets. Verse small bass. They're all looking for the same thing though. Warm water and more food. We're gonna keep making our way around here. Like I said, I don't know if you can see that little inlet over there. Pushes back a little bit more and is shallower, obviously. There's been a fair amount of surface activity going on in there, so I'm gonna kind of come around the horn and see if we can access that. And stay on the high ground. Don't spook anything. So as we approach our destination here, this is when you want to be a little bit more light-footed. So I'm going to try to pick my steps and go a little slower. And straight up wood tick. Oh, yummy. Yeah, there's gonna be a few of those. Maybe I'll use them as bait. So like I said, I'm not gonna go charging right up there. I can cast to where I need to go, so. Oh, look at them all. This is gonna be scary. And they're gills too. There's more than one. Spinning sideways, nice gills. See that? Just a little bit of observation. Things were kind of slowing down for us on that side. But there was surface activity over here. As you can see, when I casted, they all came boiling out of there. I don't know if it was the wood tick or not, but that sure didn't take long. Nice. Alright, well, hopefully I didn't spook too many, but that's why I'm standing back here. So, here goes. Oh yeah, there's still a couple up in there. Oh, here we go. Got them. Come on. Oh, there's just more in there. Digging. Bluegills, doesn't matter what. You can catch them on casting gear and they'll pull drag sometimes. So, just gonna stand back and keep working this little concentration. Catch as many as I can before they figure me out. And then I'll just chase them to the other side. Bass. Another bucket. I mean, like I was saying, stuck to my glove. Like I was saying, it's such a tiny little chunk of water right here, and you'd be surprised how many fish are actually sitting in there. Oh, look at, there's got to be a gill in here. Instantly, large amount. Oh, there's a bunch in there. What can you do though? Whoa. Never mind. Like that is basically how shallow it is back there. If you really want some good bank fishing action in the spring, sometimes it requires some bushwhacking and just a little advanced planning by looking at the layout of this lake, knowing there's a north bay, kind of knowing the water chemistry, that it's a darker lake. It's one of the first ones to warm up, and we're all itching to go fishing as soon as the ice goes off. So some advanced planning, a little bit of strategy being imparted when you find these little bays as far as how am I gonna fish this without pushing these fish around or pushing them out of here. Like I said, I started at the narrows and fished my way around. Caught quite a few fish as I was going around. The other thing it takes is a little bit of willingness. You just gotta want to bushwhack, and it's always fun to adventure like that, and you can relieve some of the headaches by carrying a rod slick, you know, and being methodical when you walk through the brush like that. So springtime is when you can access a lot of fish from shore, and you got to come out and try it. Some of the best fishing of the year.